Yeah, you're very welcome back to the third and final part of this evening's Lorna Porca GEA programme here on WLR. We're going to look back now at the inter-county career of Limerick's Shane Dowling, who announced his retirement at the age of 27 last weekend. The sublimely talented Pairce forward being forced to make the decision due to degenerative knee and cartilage issues. Limerick's all-time leading scorer, 21 goals and 292 points in just 59 league and championship games for his county, and the Pairce star came on in the pulsating 2018 All-Ireland decider against Galway and bagged a crucial goal earlier on this afternoon. I got a chance to catch up with GEA editor of the 42.ie, that's Fintan O Toole, to look back at Dowling's inter-county career and indeed a look ahead to this year's Winter All-Ireland Hurling Championship.
Yes, certainly from the outside seems, given his age and given how well Limerick have been going the last couple of years, it would seem that he'd be eager to stay in. But look, it was kind of well known that he was having a lot of problems with his knees. He's had 3 operations in the last 3 years, and there's the prospect of a 4th. And I think he's maybe been a victim of his own success as well. The fact that the county team have had a big resurgence of fortunes over the last couple of years, and then his club, kind of a mainstay on the club scene into the winter. Obviously playing against Waterford at Ballygunner a lot over the last few seasons, and he's played in some of those games and missed others. I think he referenced it was Dr. Tiger Sullivan. He was obviously closely involved with Ballygunner GA Club, that he'd been kind of seeing him a bit too much for his liking. And I think he's just kind of come to the conclusion just the way the county has gone, the way the demands that he's going to bow out. Not an easy decision, obviously, for him, especially at the age he's at. Maybe probably made a little bit easier by the fact that at least he's gone away with his All-Ireland senior medal. There's a lot of guys don't get to do that, so I'm sure that may soften the blow a little bit. The success he had in 2018 with Limerick, and of course he won an All-Ireland club medal in 2016 with the Pairce. So, while it is maybe feel a bit premature, I think they're 2 big honours that not a lot of guys get to look back on in their retirement. So, he can kind of rightly be proud of that, and obviously made a massive contribution in both cases for both those victories in Croke Park.
Absolutely, indeed. Yeah, as you say, and a lot of people alluded to it in their praise of him last week, that, he's retired from inter-county hurling but still managed to pack a lot in there in those years, and, prolific finisher as well, Fintan, anytime he got that ball, and, very, very difficult to stop, and a real potent finisher as well.
Certainly was, and I think we kind of saw that maybe in 2 different areas. I mean, like he joined the Limerick senior rank straight out of minor in 2012 would have been his first season, and then he would have won a Munster senior medal in 2013, but he was coming off the bench there, scored 3 points actually in that final win over Cork. And then the following year, Limerick didn't win anything, but it was probably one of his best seasons in terms of starting in every game, being the main score taker. Like, I was looking back at some of the totals he hit that season. He hit 2-9 against Tipperary, 2-8 against Wexford, 12 points against Cork. I know he was taking a lot of frees and all that, but he was still racking up massive totals, and then obviously got an All-Star at the end of that season. And then the last couple of years, probably frustratingly from his point of view, the fact that the injuries were curtailing his ability to maybe have a proper go at commanding a starting place, and also I think maybe the fact that he was joining the club season was going on so long. I mean, particularly 2018 when they got to an All-Ireland final replay, he was rejoining the Limerick panel after some guys had had a whole league and a chance to impress John Kiley. So, he wasn't able to force his way back into the side from the start, but I mean, he scored a goal in both the semi-final win over Cork and the final against Galway. So, I mean, clearly he was a guy that when he came off the bench, he was really, really well able to impact the game. I suppose, he obviously had the free-taking abilities. Limerick had a couple of different guys who could chip in that way, but he just had that ability. I think that's something different. He was a little bit off the cuff. I mean, if you think about kind of, some of the goals that have been kind of discussed that he scored, I think the 2 goals that were kind of most talked about last week was the one he scored against Kilkenny last year in the All-Ireland semi-final with that kind of batted finish, which technique to do that, was incredible. And then the goal he got against Knocknaheal a couple of years ago, again, with a kind of a one-handed flick over a defender's head, and he walloped it in. And in both those games, he came off the bench to do that. So I think that's kind of a really, really special talent, that a guy is able to come in, kind of produce those moments of magic and kind of impact the game straight away. And just a pity maybe the last couple of years the injuries have kind of got the better of him, and you probably weren't able to see kind of more moments like that.
Absolutely, yeah, well summed up indeed. And 2018, of course, a fond year for Limerick, finally bridging that gap, and they had a real roller coaster journey, and under John Kiley as well. I suppose he became an impact sub, I suppose, that year, and the goal against Cork in the semi-final, Limerick with that great comeback, and again in the All-Ireland then, into the Hill 16 end, and so he had the Limerick supporters on their feet as well. He really was, got the tag of impact sub, but he was such an influential figure coming off that bench, and I suppose he never really complained. He just came on and I suppose knew what he had to offer, and he certainly made it count.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing about it is that usually when you look back on All-Ireland wins come, it's a starting team maybe a lot of people think of, but I think when Limerick win is remembered, Dowling's contribution probably might be remembered more than most, even though he wasn't starting in either of those games, simply because of the goals he got. Like, he was the guy that was fouled in the middle of that Cork game for the penalty, and it was Paul Connacht, the coach, ran in, told him he had to go for it, and he put it in the net, and that obviously put them kind of in an unassailable position, like they got another goal. But I think that's one of the scores that people kind of really remember from that game. And then similarly, he gets a goal in the All-Ireland final against Galway. So I mean, he's leaving kind of really, really big moments, really, really kind of big plays, and obviously a massive influence in kind of swinging that All-Ireland Limerick's way. So yeah, maybe there's a little bit of regret from his point of view that he wasn't starting in those games, but he can be definitely kind of proud of his contribution. And I think when Limerick fans they do look back on that 20 win, I think he's one of the names that will spring to mind quickly for them in terms of the contribution he made in those games against Cork and Galway.
Absolutely, yeah, big time indeed. And I suppose persistent injuries, it is a feature maybe of Fintan, of the way the modern game has gone at inter-county level. They're really out maybe 5 or 6 nights a week, and they say now maybe anyone maybe on that 27, 28, 29 bracket that if you have persistent injuries, that you're asking yourself, is it worth this commitment? And maybe it's something we might see maybe more of down the line. Do you feel?
Yeah, I think it's hard to know. I mean, like, the thing with these injuries, and anyone who is an injury force of tournament, I mean, it's hard to completely pin down the reason why they've had to depart. But I suppose certainly one of the things that's kind of striking in Dowling's case is the amount of hurling he played. I mean, he restarted, she was looking at it like in 2011 alone, he won a Harty Cup at Ardscoil Reach, a Munster under 21 title with Limerick, and Limerick Senior and Munster Senior Club medals with the Pairce, and he was still only 18 at the time. So I mean, that's a lot to be kind of packing in. And then from the following year, then he was on the Limerick Senior squad and has been there ever since. And he's had a lot of long campaigns at the Pairce. I mean, they've won 5 county titles, 4 of those. They've gone on to the All-Ireland series afterwards after winning Munster, and then they got a loss out in the Munster final a couple of years ago to Ballygunner. They're hurling for long seasons into kind of November, December. So maybe that was a contributory factor. I mean, the other factor as well, I suppose, with a lot of injury, like, this is good fortune. I mean, there's guys can go their whole career, kind of be long-serving guys, and they never really have any major problems. He was just unfortunate that he's just kind of given a lot of problems over the last couple of years. But I think there will be an element, thankful that he has managed to depart with that All-Ireland Senior medal in Limerick. And I think he's hoping to get back on the Pairce, whether that's going to be possible. I think it'll probably depend on his kind of fitness levels, but at least as well, similarly there, he achieved the ultimate honour. They became the first side for Limerick to win the All-Ireland Senior Club title in 2016. So he's conquered probably the 2 biggest prizes he can win with both club and county, which obviously I think will give him a lot of satisfaction when he looks back.
Absolutely indeed, yeah. And I suppose finally, before we leave you go then, Fintan, I suppose everyone is gearing up for the start of various club championships now over the next couple of weekends, and then it's going to be a winter All-Ireland hurling championship. Obviously Shane Dowling will be a big loss for Limerick. I'm sure they'll be keen to get back, and you've some tasty draws in Munster with Waterford taking on Cork, both under new managers as well. So I suppose it is something different, but I suppose if you had said 2 months ago that we could be looking forward to these games, touch wood, everything will stay on course, that it's great to have it back, I suppose, and maybe going with the club first, was that a good call?
I think so, yeah, and I think the 2 elements that are going to make this really interesting, I mean, obviously it's brilliant to have it back, and that it looks like it's going to be back. I suppose we'll have to kind of wait and see that everything still goes according to plan, but I think the club will take on an extra dimension now, because I think it's one of the first times ever where it's kind of the olden style where a guy played well in club championship maybe in the middle of the summer and could get brought into a county panel. I think there's definitely cases there that county managers, they might know maybe 80% of their panel already, but I think there will be guys who will put their hand up for inclusion on the back of the club championships. That's going to be a great kind of incentive. And the fact as well, I think that these club championship weekends are fixed. The teams know it's not going to change now. So if you're going to win the Waterford county title or Limerick or Cork or whatever, you might have to play 6 times in 8 weekends or depending on the structure and format adopted in your county. I think that gives great certainty to club players and fans to kind of look at the games then. And then obviously the knockout element, is going to bring a huge amount, because obviously the round robin is such a great success, I think, in Munster, and it's given huge entertainment. People have been kind of so conditioned to it. But now it's going to be, you think about Limerick Clare, I think it's the end of October, and then the winners play the All-Ireland Championship the following weekend, Waterford Cork on that same weekend as well. So, again, an 8-day period, you're going to have 3 absolutely massive Munster hurling championship games, and considering the way the prospects look maybe about a month or 2 ago, I think that's a brilliant thing to look forward to. Yeah, hopefully it will all kind of go according to plan, and that the green light will be able to give into the Winter Hurling Championship, and we'll all get to enjoy it.
Absolutely, something to look forward to indeed. Fintan O Toole, many thanks for taking our call, and we'll catch up to you again very soon.
No worries, Gavin.
And that's where we wrap up this evening's Lorna Porca here on WLR. Many thanks for your company. Good to be back on the airwaves. Nigel Kelly is back with our sports show On the Ball just after 12 noon tomorrow afternoon, so do indeed tune in for that. I'll be in the hot seat standing in for Tomas again next Friday just after 6pm, so do hope you can join me then. Ray C standing by with the shift here on WLR just after the 7pm news. For myself, Gavin Whelan, have a great weekend. Do stay safe and I'll chat to you soon. Slán.